Thermaltake make great cases, and their Core P3 and 5 are testaments to this, with their popularity in the PC community with its unique open frame design. So can the baby brother P1, which is a Mini-ITX variant, share in this success? Let's find out. Let's start off with the tour. The I/O consists of a hard drive activity and power light, a power button, two USB 3.0 connectors, microphone and headphone jacks, and a reset switch. Around to the left hand side is a blank canvas with a lot of screw mounting points. Thermaltake includes a few different accessories to configure this area to a small degree. These accessories include a horizontal or vertical GPU mounting bracket with a PCI riser cable included for the vertical mount, which can be set up to 5 different positions for clearance with the CPU. This is Thermaltake's standard riser cable, not their premium one, so don't expect amazing overclocks out of your card using this. The horizontal GPU mount only includes 2 PCI slots, but can support 2.5 and 3 slot cards, which I wish they had added a third slot for, as there is ample room. This bracket is quite flimsy on its own and can be bent easily. Another accessory is this pump bracket mount, which can be mounted down the bottom right to offer custom water loop support for something like a pump res combo. Just above this area is support for a 120 or 240mm radiator, but please note Thermaltake made a huge oversight here, making this recessed area only 122mm wide, so my Corsair H100i could not fit due to the side decals on the radiator, so I had to mount the fans behind the rad in order for it to be secure, which is extremely disappointing and is aesthetically displeasing to me. Thermaltake did at least implement the rail system in this area, so you could have some height adjustment for your radiator if you wish to pass your power supply cables under it. This area does have 2 plates installed for mounting 2.5-inch hard drives or SSDs on the front, but no real thought went into how to cable manage this area cleanly, and if you install a radiator or fans, you will lose out on these 2 mounting areas. Down the bottom left is where you mount your power supply, using another flimsy bracket to screw the back of your power supply into, and then another bracket to support the front, which does have different mounting holes to accommodate various PSU lengths. Up to 180mm is the recommended maximum. The right hand side power supply bracket also has a screw on the top to attach a metal rod to support the vertical GPU mounting tray that really isn't explained well in the instruction manual. There are 4 raised motherboard standoffs that you'll have to attach yourself, but thankfully Thermaltake have added in a screwdriver attachment tool to properly secure them. Again, which holes to screw these standoffs in isn't really documented in the instructions. The reason these are raised so high is to allow you to route your cables behind your motherboard using the 2 largest cutouts for much cleaner cabling, which I only realised after mounting my motherboard, as again it is not really explained in the instructions. Here is a tip: if you want clean cabling, pre-route all your cables, as it is a headache of a task if you don't. Trust me, I know. There isn't really a lot of cable routing options, so it's either straight up from the power supply or use the few inconvenient holes provided, which is disappointing for a case that has everything on show. Lastly, on the front you have 4 large holes, one in each corner, to mount the heavy metal rods that secure the tempered glass panel in place using 4 screws with rubber padding either side of the glass to prevent scratching. Unfortunately, the screws are on the cap ends, not the support pillar ends, so it is awkward to attach the glass panel, and you are guaranteed to get fingerprints and skin oil all over it, making cleaning it a constant chore. Most of the mounting holes aren't labelled, and the ones that are just letters that have no reference in the instructions, so in the end you are just stuck winging it for the majority of the time, which you are almost guaranteed to get something wrong. Around to the back now, and there is nothing, but I would have really liked to have seen a small bracket included so I could use my I/O shield, as without it I can see a lot of dust getting in between all my connectors, which could have easily been prevented with the shield attached. Onto the right hand side now, which looks pretty plain, other than a bunch of screw holes to attach wall mounting brackets that have to be purchased separately, and ventilation holes for your radiator or fans with a magnetic dust filter included, thankfully. Under this panel reveals one 3.5-inch hard drive sled and one 2.5-inch mount. These 2 mounting options are spaced way too far apart and actually face opposite directions, meaning supplying power to both using a single-sided power cable is an absolute nightmare and could have easily been made better by simply flipping the 3.5-inch sled to face the opposite direction. Would have also been nice to see an extra hard drive mounting location, or make the 2.5-inch mount able to support 2 drives, as taking away the 2 mounts in the radiator area only leaves you support for 2 drives, which is kinda pathetic. In the middle of this area is this huge hunk of metal, solely for wall mounting, and it honestly serves no other purpose, making routing cables to the 2 areas behind the motherboard a very difficult task, so I would suggest removing it entirely. Now that it's removed, you can really see how much unused space Thermaltake have left vacant, which is really disappointing. There is also not a single cable tie hoop or velcro strap in sight, which adds yet another degree of difficulty to cable management. This case has the option to either be upright using the 2 included feet that screw into the bottom of the case with 4 long screws, or lying on its back using the 4 included rubber stops that screw into the back with 1 screw each and raise it enough to allow ample airflow. Unfortunately, 2 of these stops does sort of conflict with the dust filter, which seems to be another oversight. In the upright configuration, which is how I feel most people would use this case, the dimensions are 420mm high, 380mm long, and 335mm wide, and weighing in at a whopping 9.1 kilograms, and that's before you build a system inside it. CPU cooler clearance is 170mm long, but an upright GPU will hinder this. Realistically, you can fit any graphics card in this case, as long as you don't use any thicker than a 30mm radiator with the GPU in the horizontal configuration. Building a system inside this case was not a pleasant experience, and left me extremely frustrated from all the trial and error I've had to do to get a clean looking build, mainly due to how vague the instructions were. It is not even listed to what screw to use for each piece, or which mounting holes are designed for what accessory, so you really just have to wing it and hope for the best. I was so annoyed with how much was overlooked with this case design, such as the radiator width, which in all honesty there is ample room to have made the recessed area wider, the poor cable routing options, and the distance between the two hard drives, that I could not even enjoy how good the final build looked until I gave myself a few hours to cool off. If you do spend a bit of time tidying up your build, you can make it look stunning and well worth your time to show off your components with a clean aesthetic. Due to the open design, there is no fans, so there is little airflow covering the motherboard, meaning your chokes and MOSFETs won't receive as much cooling as they would in most other cases, so that's something to keep in mind if you plan on heavily overclocking your CPU. In conclusion, this case looks amazing, but is extremely punishing if you don't build in the correct order. This tempered glass panel is a fantastic addition and really helps to make this case look premium, as long as you can keep it clean. The poor design choices really made the whole build process painful, and the flimsy accessories made me concerned about my components. In the end though, the final build looks incredible, and the modularity of this case really allows you to make it your own in whatever configuration best suits your needs. For $149, the flexibility and uniqueness of this case really makes it stand out, especially in the Mini-ITX category, so if you like this form factor, this very well may be your next case of choice. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, please consider subscribing for more reviews and other content in the future. If you have a suggestion, question or criticism, leave a comment, and thank you very much for watching.